The rain fell in steady drops on the cracked sidewalks of Houston, as if the sky itself was weeping for Alex Carter. At only 24, Alex already felt decades older, weighed down by debts he never asked for, and problems too heavy for one pair of shoulders. By day, he stacked books in a dusty corner of a small-town bookstore, the meager paycheck barely covering groceries. By night, he sat hunched over the kitchen table of his modest apartment, staring at medical bills that seemed to multiply every month. His mother, weakened by illness, needed treatments they couldn't afford, and law school debt, inherited from his ambitious but short-lived pursuit of becoming a lawyer, strangled him like invisible chains. He often thought about his late father, a man whose failed business ventures had left behind not only unpaid debts, but a ruined family name. The world remembered his father as a cheat, and now Alex bore that shadow everywhere he went. One chilly evening, Alex walked home under the flickering streetlights when his phone buzzed with an unfamiliar number. Hesitant, he answered, "Mr. Carter?" The voice was calm, commanding, and strangely familiar. "My name is Margaret Hayes. I know about your struggles. Meet me at the Grand Café tonight." "It's important." Alex froze in the rain. "How do you know me?" "Why should I?" But the line went dead. He stood there, soaked and shivering, unaware that this phone call would change his life forever. The Grand Café glowed with warm yellow lights against the stormy night. Alex pushed open the heavy glass door, his wet shoes squeaking across the polished floor. By the window sat a woman unlike anyone he had ever seen. Silver hair framed her face in perfect waves, pearls gleamed against her black dress, and her posture carried the authority of someone used to commanding rooms. She was elegant, poised, and much older than Alex expected. "Mr. Carter," she said with a faint smile, gesturing to the chair opposite her. "I'm glad you came." Alex hesitated, then sat down. "You said you know about my situation." "Who exactly are you?" "I'm Margaret Hayes," she replied, sipping her tea with calm precision. "A businesswoman, a widow, and someone who can change your life overnight," Alex frowned. "Why me?" Her eyes, sharp yet unreadable, locked onto his. "Because I need something only you can give me." She leaned forward, her voice dropping lower. "Marry me." The words hit Alex like a thunderclap. "Excuse me?" "This isn't about love," she continued, her tone steady. "It's a transaction. You'll have financial freedom. Your mother will get the care she needs. And in return, I'll have companionship, a husband by my side." Alex's pulse quickened. Marriage wasn't supposed to be a contract, but the image of his frail mother flashed in his mind, along with the weight of his debts. That night, he lay awake in his small apartment, torn between pride and desperation. By sunrise, he knew his life was about to change forever. 1 week later, under the flicker of courthouse lights, Alex Carter and Margaret Hayes exchanged vows. No flowers, no music, no family or friends, just signatures on paper, a lawyer and a notary. Margaret slipped a simple gold band onto Alex's hand. "Welcome to your new life, Mr. Carter," she said softly, though her tone carried more formality than warmth. That evening, a sleek black car carried Alex through towering iron gates into Margaret's estate. His jaw tightened as the mansion rose before him, a sprawling structure of stone and glass, elegant yet intimidating, its windows glowing faintly like watchful eyes. Inside, marble floors stretched beneath chandeliers that sparkled like stars. Yet the air felt strangely cold, as though joy had never stepped foot within these walls. "Dinner is served at 7 sharp," Margaret announced, before disappearing into a hallway with her usual grace. At the dining table, Alex sat at one end while Margaret lingered at the other, a gulf of silence between them. The meal was exquisite, steak, wine, delicacies he had only seen on television. But the staff, dressed in black uniforms, moved about like shadows. Their eyes avoided Alex's, and when they whispered, their voices carried fragments he couldn't catch. Later that night, unable to sleep, Alex wandered through endless hallways. Doors lined both sides, many sealed with locks that gleamed under the dim lights. Why were so many rooms forbidden? The mansion was grand, but it didn't feel like home. It felt like a stage, where he was playing a role he didn't understand, under the watchful gaze of secrets hidden deep within its walls, and Alex could sense one truth. This marriage was not what it seemed. The mansion was silent at night, but silence didn't bring Alex peace. It only made his thoughts louder. Every locked door, every hushed whisper from the staff, felt like a puzzle he was never meant to solve. One evening, while pacing the endless corridors, he overheard two maids near the kitchen. "Poor boy," one whispered. "He has no idea," the other replied. A sudden hush followed when they noticed him watching. That night, Alex couldn't sleep. He wandered to the library, the one place that comforted him, filled with towering shelves and the faint smell of old books. As he traced his fingers across the spines, his eyes caught a glimmer on Margaret's desk, a golden key, small but heavy, as though it held more than metal. Curiosity burned in him. Slipping the key into his pocket, he told himself it was nothing, but deep down he knew it was everything. Past midnight, Alex returned to the forbidden hall. The key slid into the lock of a dark oak door. With a soft click, the door opened, revealing a room suffocated by dust and memories. Photographs lined the walls. Margaret, decades younger, standing beside a tall man with kind eyes. Her late husband. The air smelled of old wood and grief. On the desk lay piles of documents. Alex skimmed the papers and froze. His father's name appeared again and again. Old contracts, disputes, accusations of fraud. Letters from Margaret's husband, bitter and broken, accusing Alex's father of destroying their company, draining their wealth, leaving them in ruin. A final note, written in Margaret's hand, chilled him to the core. "I lost everything because of you. One day your son will feel what I felt." The papers slipped from his hands. His chest tightened with the terrifying realization. This marriage wasn't about love or even companionship. It was revenge, calculated and patient. Suddenly, the floor creaked. Alex turned. Margaret stood in the doorway, her face calm, but her eyes gleaming with a storm. "So," she said softly, "you finally know the truth." Alex's breath came in sharp bursts, his fists clenched at his sides. You used me? This entire marriage, it was never real." Margaret stepped into the room, her heels clicking softly against the wooden floor. "Real?" she repeated, her voice almost a whisper. "It's more real than you know. Your father destroyed my world, Alex. He took my husband's company, our fortune, our dignity. I lost him to grief and stress. And now you carry his blood. You are my justice." Alex shook his head violently. "I had nothing to do with my father's mistakes. I was just a child." Margaret's lips curled into a sad, bitter smile. "Children pay for the sins of their fathers. That's how the world works." The tension cracked like thunder. Alex stepped forward, his voice shaking but firm. "If revenge is all you live for, then you've already lost everything." Before Margaret could answer, the silence was shattered by the wail of sirens outside the mansion. Flashing red and blue lights poured through the tall windows. Moments later, police officers stormed in. At their front was Daniel, Alex's old law school friend, the only person Alex had confided in after marrying Margaret. "Margaret Hayes," the lead officer announced. "You're under arrest for fraud, manipulation, and financial crimes under investigation." For the first time, Margaret's composure cracked. Her eyes blazed as she turned to Alex. "You think you've won? Be careful, Alex. Revenge has a way of finding its way back." As the officers led her out, Alex felt a strange mix of relief and sorrow. She wasn't just cruel, she was broken. Weeks later, Alex stood in the quiet of a courtroom as Margaret faced her sentence. Yet instead of bitterness, she surprised him. She had left instructions in her will. Alongside the estate papers was a handwritten letter. "Alex, I let revenge consume me. But your courage reminded me of something I had forgotten, mercy. Use what I leave behind not as chains, but as freedom. Do what I could not, choose forgiveness." With the mansion sold, Alex cleared his family's debts and funded a scholarship in Margaret's late husband's name. At last, his burdens lifted and his heart finally knew peace. Alex's journey teaches us that even in the darkest storms, forgiveness can light the way to healing. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more soul-stirring tales. Let's spread hope, kindness, and second chances, because every heart deserves redemption.